Okay, so then I will call the meeting to order as the chair. I'm Paul. Why don't we go around and say who we are so everybody knows?
Jean Mitchell.
Sabrina Kerwin.
Paul Olivier.
Heather Hunter.
And sir?
The cameraman.
Yeah, that's me.
The cameraman. Paul.
And
Steve Darrow, Selectman.
Steve Carroll. Nice to have you all here.
Nice to be here.
All right, let's see, call to order, committee members present, looks like we have a quorum. Committee members absent is only Alice,
Alice.
correct?
Yep.
This is the only one that's missing.
Anybody heard anything about Alice?
No, but I do know that when I sent an email today, it bounced back. So I don't know if I have the wrong, it appears that I have the wrong email address.
Okay.
So there's no member to represent the budget committee
On the committee, you mean?
on this committee? Okay.
Could be, should be, maybe?
They were present for the meeting, but no. The first meeting anyways.
Seems like probably a smart idea.
So, so then what we'll do, I'll let Sarah know and maybe she can reach out to her.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I can reach out to
You know?
Alice and see what's up.
Okay, so you wanna do that, Sabrina?
Yes,
Maybe she'll be at the planning board, because she's at the planning.
yes.
Okay.
And maybe get a correct email?
Yep.
Perfect.
Right, so others present, you noted that. You've got names.
Yep.
Okay. Secretary's report, review of the last month's minutes, which everyone has a copy of.
Yeah, everybody does?
Yeah, they
Even the
were
public?
incredibly thorough. I thought they were fabulously well done.
Thank you. We did get some feedback. The ones you guys got had the header on all the pages. It was suggested to only have it on the first page. I figured might as well just go
Save
ahead
some
and do
space.
that, yeah.
Hopefully everyone has had a chance to read through the minutes. Does anybody need more time to read them now? Is there some time ahead of time? But there were a very good summary of what was discussed at the meeting.
I motion to accept.
Okay. Do we have a-
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the motion is approved to accept the secretary's report from June. Moving on to communications.
So, for the
Yep.
communications, I did reach out to Sarah. I spoke to Sarah today. And she'll be following up about the email. We're still waiting. She actually did post that question back in June, but she hasn't heard back.
Okay, so that we can, so the committee can have an email address.
Right.
Yep.
And then all of us, or one of us, or you, or whomever can have access to that. And then if members rotate, that password can move on to the new members.
It wouldn't bother me for everyone to have access to it. That's appropriate. Okay, so that's in the works. Is there any other, I have not received any communication. Has anybody else received any communication for us to review?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Let's see, old business, first meeting of the committee, so there wasn't any old business last time, and we don't have any old business this time to review. We do have new business, and I guess I'm apologizing because I'm actually reading through the minutes instead of looking at the agenda that I sent ahead of time. And I was trying to print the agenda at my wife's computer, and my wife wasn't home, so it wasn't working. So I was somehow able to print the minutes, but I wasn't able to print the agenda. So I have the agenda here on my computer, so I'll pull that up here in a second, and you can follow along in the agenda. Apologize for that delay.
That's okay.
And the agenda.
And actually, I do have some old business.
Oh, you do? Okay, great. Well, why don't you go ahead and state what the old business is?
Okay, because it's all in front of you. Last meeting, we talked about to review what we got from Sarah and HMA, but also we talked about the website, the town website for our page. Sarah did give me access to that. In front of you, I gave you examples. You have an example of the Bristol, or I have a Bristol page, sorry, because I only made one copy of that. But you have a copy of Andover, and then Canaan. It depends how much information we want to put on. If we just want to do what Canaan did, they just listed their meetings, they do Zoom meetings. We would have to change our venue if we wanted to do Zoom. Then they also have like their dates, where they're held. They don't really have much. I mean, that's what I printed off. Then you go and look at Andover. Yes, Andover is also out in the public as well. And they list everybody very similar to what we do for all our boards currently. So if you go on our website, you can see departments, different departments. It lists the chair, it lists the members. If we ever get a assigned ex officio from the select board, I don't know if that will be in the select board's radar, Steve. Andover has selected select board ex officio for their planning board committee, so I don't know if you guys
I
discussed
thought
about.
it was going to be Leaf.
Okay, so I'm sure, I don't think was that determined last?
It wasn't determined last time.
Okay.
But he was here and he seemed interested in the
He
project.
raised his hand in a select board meeting, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
So, this is just kind of like what we want to look. I didn't want to go ahead and do it myself until we got like an idea of what we wanted. And then also I gave you the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission. Maureen, everything's on the table that I have if you want to take a look. You're welcome. Capital improvement programs, they actually break it down. They use the RSA that they go by, and there's a lot of towns that do that also. I just quickly pulled up the ones that Sarah provided to us. And then I also have Bristol, which has a little bit more information. I can pass this around because I was stupid and didn't make a copy and made a whole bunch of Andover. So Bristol, again, lists everybody that's on the board, their contact information, notice for volunteers, they have their calendar up and going, their agendas, which I could also post. Paul, if you give those to me ahead of time, I
Yeah.
can post them
Yeah.
so everybody can have that access. Our minutes will be posted tonight or tomorrow, depending on
Great.
when we're done. So that's what I have for the website.
Yeah, personally, I'm in favor of more info rather than less info. Make sure the public knows what we're up to.
Except I don't think there's any reason to have our contact information, except the town information,
Maybe the town,
whatever we're gonna have.
the email for,
Yes,
So,
I would agree with that.
yeah, and I think the email would be awesome too. Maybe the chair, well, no, you would have the email, so we wouldn't have to do phone. But like if you look at, well, I have Bristol in front of me, and even the other towns, they don't really have phone numbers and contact info, just contact in general. Like if you needed to contact us, we would list the town offices, Sarah's number, or, you know, the P.O. box for them, and I believe that's also in our letterhead. Yeah,
That
That seems
sounds good.
appropriate.
I misunderstood, I thought it
That
was.
seems,
yeah, no, not individual contact information,
Mhm.
unless we, you know, create our own emails and want our own emails for the town. So more information, sweet.
this is all really good. I appreciate that Sarah has sent all of this to us, and that you have done some research as well.
Yeah.
That's good.
So that's for the website. Then also what is in front of you is a cover page. I was graciously donated a binder from the police department, so thank you, Chief Mitchell, for giving us a nice binder.
Nice.
So when we get anything official for document, I mean, we can tweak it, but that's our letter page, cover page with pretty much what is our letterhead, just on a page form. So if you guys wanted changes or anything.
And would this live at the town office?
So that would probably live with me, because I'm the secretary, so it would live with whoever's the secretary.
Yep.
But Sarah will have the approved minutes of binder in the office for anybody to go in to do that.
Yep.
So when I email her the approved minutes, she will print them off and there'll be a binder in her office. I spoke to her about that
That
today.
makes sense.
And then I, of course, will have them here, so
Yep.
we have copies.
That makes sense. Anyone want to comment on what we just looked at? Great, well, thank you for putting all of that together and bringing it over here. So that was under old business. I did pull up the agenda on here on my computer. As I said, was trying to print copies, but it wasn't printing for some reason. But I'll describe what's on here. So we had old business, new business, public comment, and then the next meeting, and adjournment. We have to keep in mind that the planning board will be here at 7 p.m., so we have to make sure that we're done by 6:59 p.m. So the planning board can take over. All right, actually, I'll go back to appointments because we just spoke about maybe Leaf as part of our ex officio committee. You're under the impression that he volunteered to be part of that.
Yes, were you at that meeting when he raised his hand? Yes, I
Okay.
witnessed.
So let's put in the notes that,
But if his work schedule changes, I mean, that's up in the air. And that's
Yeah.
the reason he's not here tonight, because he had a change in his work schedule.
okay.
So,
But let's put him down as if he was a member and he was absent today. And
Okay.
confirm with him that that certainly is intent. It sounds like it is. All right, so that's under appointments. We just reviewed the old business. So new business. So under new business, I propose this discussion here. I listed a few items here. One item that I listed is a kind of a definition, and I looked at a few of these from Andover, Canaan, Bristol, and the one from the town of Canaan, under RSA 674.5, the purpose of the capital improvement program is to recommend municipal capital improvements over a 6-year period to aid the selectmen and the budget committee with the annual budget. The committee, this is again Canaan, the committee has adopted a definition of capital expenses and capital projects as one, a gross cost in the aggregate of $5,000 or more. 2, a useful life of at least 3 years. And 3, non-recurring, i.e. it's not an annual budget item. So those are the 3 definitions that the town of Canaan is using to identify capital improvements. And I guess I would put to the group here, do we feel, I saw that, I think it was the town of Andover, maybe it was the town of Bristol, said $10,000. What do we, as a group, feel is the appropriate amount?
I know other towns that I've been involved with, they had, it was 25,000 and up.
25,000.
25,000 and up, but
It's
it,
probably a richer town than Grafton.
yeah, they had way more money. I don't think that 10,000 is unreasonable. I mean, once you get over 10,000, I mean, that's like huge liability
Mhm.
that goes along with that kind of financing, so I think, 10,000 would be reasonable.
Yep, Sabrina and Heather, do you have
And I think
10,000?
10,000 would be good.
I think 5,000 is too low,
5,000
10,000
is
is
too
more
low.
reasonable, yeah.
Okay.
Because I think if we just look at what we need,
Yeah,
I mean, the ambulance is 200 and some odd $1,000, 265, I think. The
yeah.
grant I wrote was 9270. So,
Okay. So let's use 10,000 as our,
And I think that's a good place to start, and that may be too low too, but I think.
we'll start there.
I think.
We
Yeah.
can always change it. All right, so we'll start with
We're
10,000.
we're going to get some information about the recent warrant articles, and that was gonna give us an idea of who might be requesting what for funds. And I'm just thinking warrant articles in the last couple years, for their, I forget what term they use, but, towards their ambulance fund, towards.
Capital reserve.
Capital Reserve Fund.
Right, and do those tend to be 15,000 and above, or?
It depends what they are, I think the one for property reevaluation is lower than that.
Yeah, then
And the one that Bonnie has for books
is 3.
restoration, that's lower than that.
Yeah,
That was
3
only
to
a few
5.
thousand. a quarter.
Yeah, but like the ones for major equipment, like the highway department's pretty big, and the
Yeah,
fire.
fire department,
fire
I
and
think we went up
ambulance.
to 15, I would have to double check, but I think we went up to 15, I know there was an amendment that we did. Buddy asked to amend it and it went up. I know for the ambulance, it's, every year we put some money in,
And don't forget the
then
library.
PD, and the the PD. So there's actually a lot of reserve funds that we asked to put money in.
Yeah, cause I know there was a project in town that was roughly 38,000 and I had not seen anything about bids on that. So I was trying to find out, what does the state require? Cause I know in my past experience, anything that was over 20,000, you had to have the 3 bid process.
Mhm.
But again, different town, different size.
Mhm.
So kind of going to the whole money, in front of you also and on the table, there should be copy, is a Danbury Project Capital Improvement Plan. And they broke everything down on how much estimated total costs. So that's just another idea to kind of look at.
Mhm. Yep, and Sarah gave us a similar spreadsheet for us to use as well, which I thought was good.
Yeah, and that came from NHMA.
Sabrina, are you suggesting that we get from from maybe Sarah or whomever, a list of those warrant articles, warrant items, or?
I guess I'm just thinking, can we not make the 10,000 a hard decision tonight until we figure out maybe that should be bumped up? Like, does the CIP only want to deal with big ticket items,
Mhm.
15 and above? Is that possible?
Yeah,
Till we get more
Yeah.
information?
sure.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of what we were doing, just
Okay.
put it at 10 and then see what everybody else
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
Because we still
Yeah,
have to,
we can change the number
yeah.
as we get info, we can say, gosh, it seems like we're too high or too low.
So yeah, we can review that for next month. That'll be underneath old business.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay,
we
great.
should maybe check with the municipal association, just see if they have a hard number. Sometimes they can give you a hard number that the state requires anything from this amount up, you have to
Yep.
get involved or, 3 bid process.
Okay. Do we agree with the at least 3 years for useful life? A capital improvement has to be at least a 3-year
Yeah.
investment. And it's not a recurring annual budget item, so
Correct.
that's good.
Yep.
Okay, so we've defined what our capital projects are. That's good. I want to talk a little bit about the process. What we understand from our meeting last time was that it's our job to draft a capital improvement plan. Once we do that, we will present it to the planning board. The planning board will first approve it, and once the planning board approves it, then it will go off to the select board for approval as well.
Correct.
So that's the process. We create it, draft it, send it to the planning board, review it with the planning board.
And have the public input at each meeting.
So that's a good point. Certainly the public is always, invited and welcome at the meeting. So we should talk a little bit more about the approach of how we do that.
Yeah, and then working very closely with the budget was also suggested too.
Yes, the budget committee, right.
So in one of the readings that we got from Sarah from NHMA, the capital planning, they actually said capital planning and funding policies. Policies critical to effective capital planning is what the slide was actually. So they were talking about policies for the general budget, revenue and expenditure policies, and forecasts. So revenue expenditure, so getting back to kind of need to know those warrant articles and where we're running in the budget, and then forecasts. So I know, again, up here on the fire department, is the fire department wants to get a new engine or a new apparatus, or fixing the town hall, or fixing the town offices, building something. That would be the forecast. So that would have to be kind of in there on how to actually write up or propose those. Then there's the enterprise fund, capital reserve fund, development of CIP policies, along with the financing policies, debt management, grant management, and then one-time revenue. We can kind of look into that more, but I think, yes, it's killing a lot of policies and a lot of trees, but it also covers every aspect. And being like, hey, if we wanted the big lenders, which I found out if we wanted to get a bond, not that we would anytime soon, but if we wanted to do anything big for funds and money, we would have to have all these policies set up, along with the CIP. That they have, okay, this is what you have, yes, it fits into your CIP, good, let's move forward.
And I think it's gonna be something with the strategic plan too, that's gotta be in there to
Yeah.
match that.
But I read that, where was it in my notes? One of these. But yeah, it ultimately said that it needed for major elements for bonds, lenders and bond raters expect having the CIP, and this is part of it. So,
Yeah, so that's probably a good segue into what sorts of things do we need to know. So I made a list, again, on the agenda, of the things that I thought we needed to kind of gather to know. And let's see. First of all, what's our schedule for completing our draft plan? We weren't given a schedule from Leaf or from the town, so there is no schedule, it's just do your work. It's an evolving thing, so we don't really have a schedule, but it feels to me like we as a group should have a schedule. We should impose upon ourselves a schedule. So let's think ahead to, we've created a draft plan. We've gotten feedback from all the department heads and so on, and we've created a draft plan. When do we think is a reasonable time to have that done? How long will it take to do that, we think? I mean, we don't know.
If
yet.
we're just doing something general, we could maybe say like a month and then send it out for public comment and stuff at the different
A month from now?
Yeah, I mean, depending on how much we wanna get into it, I mean, it seems like we have something general that's really good that we could, get feedback on and then go from there. I don't know.
I don't think it's gonna be a month.
Yeah, it feels to me like.
It feels like it's gonna be quicker than that, but I'm just saying, I don't know.
It
people
depends how
vacation.
detailed we wanna get in.
Yeah,
So if we want to meet with all department heads
Mhm.
and
I think we do.
have feedback and be like, okay, come up with a form, because I believe this was talked last time, come up with a form and be like, where do you see your department going forward? How much money do you see? Do you reach your budget or do you go over your budget? Is there expenditures that you're not noticing that comes up?
Yeah,
And then there's also reviewing the warrant articles. It's like, okay, so, as Sabrina says, I wanna look at the articles to see, what are we actually asking for every year? Because ideally, if we're creating this, we wanna try to diminish warrant articles that's saying, hey, I want 10 grand each year.
Right.
So this way we're kind of making it a plan versus, okay, you're going this for that, why don't you do like 500 a year? Or, let's do it every other year.
Mhm. Yeah, I think to create, something like this, which Danbury did, I think might take more than a month, it feels to me, because it means meeting with each of the department heads, and we don't quite know yet, how we will do that, we're gonna discuss that in a minute here, but it feels to me like it's probably more than a month.
yeah, I mean, some things will take more time, others less. And again, it's in how much detail you wanna get into. Like, I don't think some components really need a ton of detail, but other stuff, because it involves large amounts of money, have to be really specific.
Sabrina, do you have a suggestion for time frame for having the draft?
I don't even know how to take an educated guess on end timeframe, but I'd be willing to make an educated guess on when we'll finish the next step. Like, isn't creating a form that we're going to use to communicate with the department heads our next step?
Yeah.
Like, can we give ourselves a time frame for completing that form?
Yes, that's a good suggestion, that's a good starting point. There is one that Sarah sent to us, which I thought was very good, I forget what town it's from, but it's like an Adobe form that you can fill in on the form itself. I thought it was very good. I think she copied all of us on it. I think our work's kind of done. I think we can use that form. I don't know if everybody, if all the departments have easy access to fill that in. That would be a question.
They should.
Yeah.
They should, yes, they should. So yes, a form, I think we could use something, I should have brought a copy, but we do have it electronically. So let's talk a little bit about the approach. So, do we see that the next step would be meeting with the department heads? After we've got the form, after we kind of agree that we've got a workable form?
Yeah,
Do we just send that off to them? Do we invite them here?
we would meet with them here.
Meet
It'd
with
probably
them here?
be nail them down, that way it doesn't get forgotten about.
Are we in, it's an invitation.
Right.
That's how I see it. I
Yeah.
see us inviting them,
Yeah,
telling them what we're up to, what we're trying to do, and giving them the opportunity to present to the capital improvement committee what they think the capital improvement needs are for the town. So it would be in their interest to
help us help you.
help us help you. Exactly, that's a good way to say it. Help us help you.
Can we give them an option, like complete this form and or meet with us?
And that would be fine.
So if somebody has something
Yeah.
clear and they just can fill it out, and
That would be fine. That would be-
how many department heads are there?
That's a good question. I wrote that down. I don't know. I don't know how many department heads there are.
Jeez Louise, I have to list that down.
Maybe, Steve, do you have a sense of how many department heads the town has?
Oh, well, you get the
Fire,
fire, ambulance,
Police.
road, those are the three big ones.
PD,
Police department,
highway,
library.
rec, library.
The rec doesn't typically have large capital expenditures though.
Right, but
Okay.
they're still a department. I mean,
They
yeah.
are,
Are there other small departments that
yeah, but you,
we could solicit feedback and
The cemetery committee, is that
Yep,
considered?
yep, cemetery, thank you.
And is there a veterans? I know there's a veterans group, but is
no, there's not.
But that's not a town,
No, we don't have like a veterans services coordinator or.
And is there a library town committee?
yeah.
There's,
that's
yeah,
a
they have
trustee.
trustees of the library.
So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
okay. I'm sure from Sarah we can get their contact information.
Oh
Right?
wait, supervisor of the checklist, select board, can't forget about that. Supervisor's checklist.
Supervisor of the checklist.
Yeah, but once again, the town clerk, the supervisor of the checklist and the budget, they fall under the town clerk. Their budget's under so the town clerk would be the big header there. The supervisor of the checklist, they don't really have their own budget.
Right,
It gets
just like
tight.
we don't,
Mhm.
as of right now.
And we hope to keep it that way,
Yeah.
right?
We don't need a budget.
Right, don't ask for money.
Okay, so yeah, we also got more, so we
And
got,
the planning board too, I mean,
oh, yeah, plan.
although they don't really have a budget either.
But
Would
if
we
they,
put, would we put
Budget
selectmen,
one.
would we put selectmen under
The
this?
selectmen actually are the big spenders in town, so like, I think they'd be important to talk to.
cause I remember, I don't know
As
if
far
it,
as expenditures go, because anything that doesn't fall in one of these departments, and even the stuff that falls with the departments, all is under the selectmen's
So it
umbrella.
would be appropriate to include the selectmen
Yes,
in our query,
What
And-
about the recycling and
oh, yeah,
transfer station, or is that part of roads?
no,
that's part-
that's separate,
yeah. that is.
they're big spenders too.
Okay. What do we call that
Relatively
department?
speaking, in the nature of our budget, yeah.
What do we call that
Solid
department?
waste.
I think it's recycling.
Well, and the budget is called solid waste.
Solid waste.
Well, one thing that was brought up, last meeting, I don't know if it was Jen or Maureen, or, yeah, Sandy, one of them brought up personnel too, because they were very concerned about Sarah and that we would look at personnel. So even if the departments have a very small budget, you should be like, hey, where do you see your department going? Even if it's like, oh, we're all set, at least we're including.
I saw that in the notes and it kind of struck me as odd. It doesn't feel like it's part of our purview.
It doesn't feel that way to me either.
But it was just brought up.
Yeah, it would fall into each individual department, like the selectmen, we have a expenditure in our administrative assistant, so that would be personnel. Other than that,
Yeah,
you know, the highway department's got personnel,
yeah,
but that's not really a capital expenditure.
Right.
When they buy a truck, that would be, you know, when they buy something that's a material thing that they
So
own.
maybe when we speak with departments and we hear that there are personnel desires, like I want to add another person, that's not really the capital improvement, but maybe that's information
Yeah,
we
well,
share.
I will tell you, the highway
Correct.
department, our highway equipment's so old that we have trouble hiring help.
Mm.
Once they see the equipment
Mm.
that they're gonna be operating,
Right.
it's a turnoff.
Oh, well,
ooh.
Well.
So anyways, circling back to the departments that
Yep.
we added, fire, ambulance, PD, highway, rec, library, cemetery, supervisor of the checklist, select board, town clerk, tax collector, planning board, recycling, trash, which is solid waste. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
That's
6,
good for you.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Did you have two items, town clerk and tax collector?
Yes,
It's two separate?
yes.
They are two separate line items, most towns, I mean, it's two separate elections, it just happens to be filled by one person currently. Once again, the tax collector, you know, there's no real capital expenditures except for, you know, paper and envelopes and stamps to send the bills out.
Aside from a building, if we
Well,
look at different buildings.
If
So-
you want to purchase software, I don't know.
Possibly,
We should ask everybody.
Mhm. I would agree.
it's gonna be, but it's not gonna exceed the threshold that were just created.
Right,
But it's good to have them participate, at least at the beginning, so you get a good feel
yeah.
for each department.
Who's in charge of buildings? Is there a department or a person that's in charge of town buildings?
Well, there would be the board of selectmen would be in charge of the town buildings.
Okay.
You know,
So if,
and
for
we do-
instance-
we- you know, the town does have buildings that we own that we lease out. You're aware of that.
I was a little bit aware of that.
So, and those are major, I mean, like the church right up the road here
Mhm.
is a lease job. And,
So that falls under the purview of the select board? In terms of,
yeah, in
in
terms,
terms of-
in terms of, yeah, handling the lease and.
but in terms of understanding if that building needs a capital improvement, we would get that from the select
It
board.
would be going through the historical society, it's a little mixed up there, but
Is the
it's
historical,
owned by the town, and the town pays for its maintenance. And,
is the
it's
historical,
managed by a private organization called the
Yeah.
Historical Society.
okay. Is the historical society a group that we would want to reach out to
No.
understand?
They're-
No, because that would come through the select.
I would go through this one.
Okay. So buildings are gonna be covered by asking the selectmen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Does the town do, I should know the answer to this, but does the town do any of its own maintenance on its own buildings?
Yes, we do. We have a handyman.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Yeah, and, right now he's working on the pole barn. You know, the pole barn with all the missing panels and the doors that don't close. He's working on that.
Okay.
And it's a junk collector, that pole barn. It just
Okay.
collects junk.
Oh.
It's unbelievable.
Town junk or? other-
Town, well, it's from departments. You got, if you need a place to put something, put it there.
It goes
You know, and then once every 5 years, we get the backhoe out and we try and clean it out.
Okay,
Or, you know, somebody donates a hockey rink to the town, where does it end up? It ends up inside the pole barn.
okay, okay. So then in terms of building improvements, we've got that covered. We don't need to reach out to the handy person.
No, I'd reach out to the selectmen, and Leaf will be pretty well versed in that.
Okay.
If he's, I mean, I understand that your intention is to have the select board ex officio sitting up at the table with you.
Yes,
Was Leaf sitting up at the table last time?
Yeah.
yes, he was.
Oh, okay,
He was sitting over there, Sarah was
No.
sitting here.
okay. Well, maybe I should be, he said I just sit in the back of the room, so I don't know what his participation
Yeah,
level
he
was.
said
If
he-
you wanna come up and join us, come up and join us.
Now that I'm here, I can just join you from here if you don't mind me talking up.
That's perfectly fine too, perfectly fine too. One question came up last time about roads. I think there was somebody from the audience that suggested roads be a capital improvement. And I think Leaf felt fairly strongly that that's not part of our committee, that that's really part of the select board already. Is
Well,
that-
I would tend to agree with them with the roads upkeep and maintenance of the road falls under the selectmen's purview. However, the heavy equipment that we need to operate and maintain the roads, that would fall under capital
Yes,
improvements,
equipment.
'cause
Right, equipment. Right, well, one piece of equipment we heard about was the roadside mower, as an example.
yeah, well, you know, we have a new grader now,
Oh.
that was a major
Oh.
expense.
Okay,
And we have several old vehicles that, like I said before, they're old, you know, it's a pretty tough job operating
Yeah,
those things.
sure. Okay, so, Heather, are you gonna collect, contact information from Sarah for all of these people?
Yeah,
Okay, great. Thank you.
I can do that.
I'd like to see the sample questionnaire before we send it out.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just
Actually,
getting
I have-
contact
I
information.
have it right here.
Great.
Yeah.
Um,
I was gonna suggest that if we do a letter or something, we bring it, come back, like one of us say,
It was
hey,
one of
I'll
the
write
items
it,
that Sarah
and
sent
then
us.
bring it,
Okay.
so, type of thing.
Oh, awesome.
Let's see, what did I put examples from others? Bristol, Canaan report, mechanic, narrative, capital improvement info. Is that? Try a different one.
Both maybe next time we
Yeah,
meet, we can.
yeah, meeting minutes, right to know, capital planning and funding session. CIP.
Survey, is it called, what is it?
Yeah, because I know you said, I think Sarah sent it to us.
Oh, maybe it's this one, file checklist. No, that's not it. Yeah, so I could.
Because we could do a survey along with like an introduction letter, be like, hey, and then, you know, all our names can be, we could sign it, so if one of us is willing to type it up, and then if unable to print at home, have Sarah print it off, and I can either pick it up or one of us can pick it up, and then we can just sign it and then make a whole bunch of copies and then mail it and put it in their mailboxes.
Yeah, I guess I don't know why I'm not finding it right now, but I know I looked at it earlier today and I thought it was well done.
Yeah, that was the initial one.
Yeah, so this is the spreadsheet that she sent us that I think it came from the municipal association that we
And
could use.
to circle back,
Looks kind of like this.
2 roads, and maybe this is just because they just included it in Danbury, they do list bridges on here. So roads and bridges, public works, so all the capital equipment, they got all their dump trucks, Ford loader, grader, and then they list bridges, which then if you just go across, it's just a straight line item, so I don't know if that's already budgeted, if that's what they get from the
Well,
state.
they don't get money from the state until after the fact,
Okay,
and when they're actually building a bridge. But the bridges are so expensive that we do have a capital reserve fund for bridges.
Oh,
And we
Okay.
have certain bridges that are scheduled for replacement at different dates, and that requires you to have money to be able to do it.
so that
Also,
feels like a
If
capital.
you recall, we had a bridge that went out on Kinsman a few years ago,
Yeah.
and that was entirely out of pocket. So that's an unplanned expense, but it's something that, it's a good thing that the town had that capital reserve fund, otherwise that would have been a much more difficult situation.
So are we in agreement then that bridges fall under capital improvement plan?
Yes,
I'd say,
yeah.
it's a big expense.
It's a
so-
big expense and it's,
Different than roads?
yeah.
Different
and
than
it's-
roads, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's kind of a
Bridges.
one
Yeah.
time every so many decades type of purchase.
Right.
Could I, ask Sarah again nicely, because she's already given us so much, for that list of all the capital reserve funds? Because I think that's like.
That's all in the town report, and what the current funding is. If you get a town report, there's a page that's got all our capital reserve funds, how much money is in them,
That might be
when they
this.
were established, I believe, is in there.
Wonderful.
Is that this list? This is-
No,
No, no.
that looks like it's a,
Permanent file report, it's called.
yeah, that's
Active funds.
highway.
If
So,
you-
yeah,
if you look in the town report, it also has a list for all the town properties that the town actually owns, which might be useful information to have.
So that's also very important too, because that has what we have for capital already. So you got the highway department purchase, maintain, so it's year 1969. This one, that's okay. Excuse me. So the recycling, town hall repairs, the year, trustees of the trust fund, probably where the money's held, ambulance service, purchase equipment and other related items, back in '09, roll-off truck, 2017. Yeah, so that would be good to have too. But we could definitely do the capital reserve fund.
And if you could make a note, Heather, for me or whomever to send around the form that we could all look at. I don't know why it's not my file folder here right now, because I know she sent it to us. I looked at it today, so I'm not sure.
And that's the form two in survey form, right?
Yeah, it was like a live Adobe document that you could fill in. And I thought it was well done. I think it came from Bristol, I think. Let me go back to our agenda here.
So let's get a couple copies of the town report, put it in your binder, so we have that as a reference as we're
Yeah.
working. Since we don't have
Yeah.
internet, so we can't just,
Right, pull it up.
because I don't want to ask Sarah to do something that,
Oh, yes,
We
yes,
could
yeah, we
easily
could do it on our
access.
own, right.
I should be able to grab that for this meeting.
I know I'm pretty sure I already have one at the house, I just grab it every year.
Okay,
I can grab a whole bunch for the next meeting, so
Yep.
there's plenty left, right, you would think?
There generally is leftover, so I assume that we do
Yeah,
have
At
leftovers.
least like 5.
Yeah,
we can grab a couple minutes. Okay, so we've identified who the players are.
Yep.
We're pretty comfortable with that list. There may be one or two that will appear during the process. And we're gonna get their contact information. We're gonna review the form that I keep talking about that I thought was well done.
will the
That we'll send-
contact information also be in the town report?
Their names will, contact is usually through the department, but there's also mailboxes that could go in there as well. So we don't necessarily have to mail everything out, other than, Sarah could
just
do
put
a
it in
blast
next, and there's,
email.
everybody's got a little cubby hole with their mail.
They could do a blast, she could do a blast email and be like, hey, CIP's reaching out, please come and grab your forms.
Mhm.
And when I'm there and see anybody, I can, hey, grab your form, here you go. Do we want to include an introduction letter?
Yes, we should.
Because we are asking them to participate, so we
Yes.
should ask very nicely. and
Correct.
Make it easy, simple.
Yep.
Give them options.
Yep. Yep.
I'm not so good with words, I can try.
Oh, you bring it for the next meeting, we can look through. I'm sure it'll be wonderful.
Yeah, if it'd be,
Yeah.
that'd be great. That'd be super. Thank you.
Because we're not sending anything out this month. Next meeting we'll review it and then,
Right.
yeah.
So next meeting, let's have the list of the people with their contact information. Let's have the form, which I'll supply, because I know she sent it to us, that we can look at. You'll have a draft letter that we can accompany with the form.
Our website will be up and running, which
our
we could
website is up
also,
and running.
we can post the draft letter in the survey too. So if for whatever reason they can't print it out, we can,
Yep.
have it up there and they can figure that out, or email, cut and paste, put it in their email and answer it.
Can you put the RSA on the website too?
We can.
Just so we say,
Yep,
Which,
we're asking.
one of the ones, I think it was the,
well, I listed the one,
yeah, the planning commission is the one that they
Yes.
posted, yeah. And then the one you sent in the agenda.
yes, RSA 674.5. Okay, let's see, I have a couple.
So-
of-
I guess the next question is when would we wanna start meeting with people? Cause that we
It'll
probably
be the
do.
meeting after that,
Right,
Right,
so
September,
that's 2 months from now,
September.
so.
Does that, going back to the schedule question that I asked earlier, I'm not familiar enough with the town's budgeting process, and when does that process take place?
It's the start, September's like the start,
Yeah.
but it's not hectic at that point.
They'll be cranking up in September. And then it'll be finalized December.
Yeah.
I think they might have even been a little early last year, I'm not sure.
So if we plan to meet with the department heads or get info by September from them, that might be an appropriate time to
Yeah.
mesh
Yeah,
with the existing process,
Yeah,
okay?
Does the upcoming August meeting, come close to the holiday weekend? We're gonna have trouble
I have the date
with
here, I have
attendance.
the date here in the agenda. It is August, if it's the fourth Thursday, it's August 22nd.
Plenty of time,
Plenty of time.
so that shouldn't,
so
I was
we,
assuming that was, it writes the fourth
Yeah.
Thursday of Wednesday, so. Yeah, so that would be that next week.
thank you.
Let's see, the next question I had for us to ponder was, how do we collaborate with the budget committee? I don't remember who the lady was that was here last time.
Cindy,
Yes, thank you.
no, not Cindy. Sandy.
Sandy
Darn.
was asking that question, like, you know, how do we work with the budget committee? What does this mean for the budget committee? And I don't know the answer yet.
Well, I think
Who's-
looking at the warrant articles, looking at what the previous budgets were, seeing the trend of the different departments, you know, maybe inviting, you know, the chairwoman to come and talk to us where she sees the budget to go, which Cindy Kulik is the chair, I believe, still, right?
I believe so.
So invite her to be like, okay, where do you see the budget going? What is the needs of the budget, or whomever from the budget committee?
Would it be appropriate to invite her to our next meeting in August and start
I
that
think that would be part of the department heads.
That's hard to say, but I think having her come in before the department heads
Might
might,
be beneficial.
yeah, that might not be a bad idea if she came into the next meeting.
Okay,
You know, because then you're gonna finalize your, the letter that you're sending out, so you're a little bit of ahead of the game, but she can give you some insight to what's going on with the
Okay.
budget and what she anticipates.
I'd be happy to invite her, if I could get her.
Weren't all the department heads invited to be on this committee?
Yes.
The budget committee it wasn't the heads, we just looked for representatives from the planning board, as the planning board in particular, that,
Yeah, we're here.
that the RSA suggested, but it did say a representative from the budget committee. So that's why I'm disappointed there is no representative from the budget committee.
But it was the select board, right, that put this committee together, right?
We did based on who volunteered. We didn't
Yeah.
order anybody to come,
Right.
so that's, you know,
So it's not too late, you could appoint that person.
yeah,
Or they could volunteer.
or they could volunteer.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody wanted to step up, it would be no problem for them to come sit down.
Correct.
If nobody puts that in, if nobody steps up, then that makes it more difficult.
So in the meantime, if we could, I don't know if that's you, Heather, or who gets me the information, her contact
I can
information.
get it to you.
Okay. I'd be happy to reach out to her and
Email?
invite her to the next, email. And reach out and invite her to the next meeting. Does that make sense?
Now, Cindy was originally on the committee, but then she backed off.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
That's what I thought,
She
right. Maybe she doesn't have time, but maybe if we invite her for one meeting or something.
Yeah, for one meeting.
For one meeting, and, you know, and in the meantime, I'll try to put the word out that we'd like to get a regular budget committee member
Yeah,
to participate on a regular basis.
it seems logical.
I think be really useful. I mean, you're both kind of doing the same sort of thing, so I think it's pretty,
Right.
it's planning, which is really important, which is why we have planning board members here, but we're planning with the budget and money, so I think that
Right.
the budget committee is really vital to have.
I would agree. Yep, I would agree. I'd be happy for the participation, for sure. All right, I'll do a time check here, it's 6:50 now, and probably the planning board committee members will be arriving. That's, let's see, that's under, this is all I have for new business. But let's see, I've got a couple of other items here, which is, public comment.
What was the minimum threshold set for capital improvement plans?
It's temporarily
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
10,000.
Temporary.
So where,
Unless it, because some might need to be adjusted.
and it was also suggested that we look at warrant articles to see what the warrant articles were requested historically, and kind of go off of that.
Yeah, the whole reason the way this thing started was that the warrant articles that come to the voting actually have a stated purpose and not just a vague, we want this sum of money with no plan whatsoever to it.
Do you have a suggestion, Jake, for a different number, or
I do not, I just.
you're just looking for the number? Yeah, yeah. Other public comment?
We just temporarily set it at 10,000, and then depending on the amount, the average amount requested, we'll adjust it.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. No further public comment? Okay. Let's see, next meeting. Next meeting is August 22nd, at 6 PM here. Are we happy meeting here, and
I think so.
right before the planning board meeting?
Everybody can hear us, right?
It's better than a fire station.
Yeah? Okay.
There's no fans.
No,
Oh.
and not a huge echo room, and I'm sure the recording comes nice, right?
And no fumes either.
It sucks less.
It sucks that.
Okay. Is there any further business coming before the committee?